Alright, so I've shared my spousal sponsorship timeline in a couple of videos, a few stages here, a few stages there, but I keep getting requests to share our complete spousal sponsorship timeline. So here goes our 2021-2022 permanent resident spousal sponsorship timeline from submitting the application to AOR, biometrics, medical, passport request, COPR, and finally receiving the PR card. Now, throughout this video, I'm also going to be pointing out to some important things that you should keep in mind if you are submitting or resubmitting your spousal sponsorship application. So let's begin. So for those who have been following this channel, probably already know that I submitted the application to sponsor my wife for the first time on August 15, 2021 using the new permanent residence online portal. I was the sponsor living in Canada, my wife was the principal applicant living in India at the time, so this was an OUTLAND or family class application. Unfortunately, after 2 months, my application was rejected because I missed a signature in one of the spousal sponsorship forms. So I did what most of us do in this situation, felt stupid and sorry for myself, and I started all over again. So on October 27, 2021, this time equipped with all the right forms, documents and signatures, I resent the application again using the online portal, using the same account. So before we get any further into the stages, if your application got returned also, and if you're resubmitting, here are a few things that you should keep in mind whether applying online or on paper. Number one, always get the latest forms for your program. So the guide 5289 is the official guide for your spousal sponsorship program. So always check the guide to make sure that you have the latest version of the forms. IRCC has updated a few forms in the past, I believe 1344, and very recently the document checklist 5533 have been updated. So if you're resubmitting, make sure that you use the latest forms. You may have to fill the information out again, but it's worth it. Don't use the previous versions of the forms, okay? And obviously don't miss out on any signatures. Signatures are the biggest reason so many applications have been rejected over the past year. You don't want to be a victim of that. So I've made a detailed video about signatures, which forms to sign, which not to sign, who should sign, whether using a representative or not using a representative, and that video should be showing up on the cards here and it's linked in the description below. I go into extreme detail about signatures and it should definitely help you out. Alright, so it's linked below, check it out. Second is documents. So not providing enough documents to prove your relationship or to support your application is also one of the leading causes why applications get returned. So make sure you collect all the documents that are needed for your specific case. And then if you're applying online, make sure to prepare them correctly and label them correctly and upload them under the right category in the online portal. I've made a detailed video about what documents I provided to sponsor my wife and how I prepared them, how I labeled them, and how I uploaded them in the online portal. And it should be showing up on the cards here and it's linked in the description below. Definitely check that video out. It is a highly informative video. Number 3 is fee. So the permanent residence application fee have increased since April 2022. So for those of you who are applying after the fee increase are obviously going to be paying the new amount. And for those who applied before April and let's say your application got returned, then when you reapply, you are going to be paying the additional amount. And there's 2 ways to do that. Number 1, you can either pay the full amount, the new amount, which is the higher amount, and then request a refund for your previous amount. Or you can simply pay the difference between the previous amount and the new amount as an additional custom amount. So let me show you how you can do that. You get to this page. This is also a help center page with instructions on how to do that, and I'm going to link it in the description below. So there's 2 ways again. You can either pay the full amount, the increased amount, through the IRCC portal and then attach the receipt of that payment either through your physical application packet or upload the receipt on your online portal. And then you can request a refund for your previous payment. Normally the refunds are already processed in about 4 to 8 weeks, but if the refund is taking a long time, then you can actually go and request a refund. Or you can calculate the difference amount and then only pay the difference when you're applying for the second time. Just remember to attach your previous payment receipt also so that they know that you made the payment. So you're just going to click on this e-payment portal and it gives you an option to make a custom payment amount. So whatever the difference is, select that difference, make the payment, attach the copy of this payment receipt and your previous payment receipt to account for the entire pay difference, and then upload it to the online portal if you're applying online, or simply mail it with your application packet. All right. So once you have your documents and forms and everything ready, then just mail in your application packet to the destination if you're applying on paper. Don't also forget to attach the rejection letter. And if you're applying online, then you have two options. So if you're resubmitting, you are going to log into the portal using the same account that you previously did. And now you will have two options in your applications. You can either create a brand new application, attach all forms again, fill out all the digital forms again, and upload all your documents, attach the payment receipt, sign the consent section, and submit the application. Or you can click on this returned application option if it's enabled for you, and then resubmit through this return page. This return page will, as you can see, have all your submitted documents and forms already. So just make the changes you want to make, add any additional documents that you feel might solidify your case, and just resubmit through this page. When I did my resubmission, I tried to also resubmit through the return page, but it just wouldn't let me. I think the online portal was experiencing some issues at the time, but it has been fixed since then, as a lot of my subscribers have told me. So now you can submit through the return page also. But when resubmitting, just make sure that your forms are all the latest versions from the official guide 5289. So definitely check if the forms have changed, and I know some of them have changed. So download them, fill them out, and then upload them again in the return page. Delete your previous forms. All right, and just think of it this way: whether you submit a brand new application through this portal or you resubmit through the return page, it's not going to really make a difference as far as the queue of your application is concerned, because even the resubmitted application is going to be treated as a new one. It's just that the return page is going to save you some work. It's easier, it's more flexible, so use that option if you can. All right. So almost 3 months after submitting the application for the second time, I received the acknowledgement of receipt on January 24th, 2022. On the same day later, I also received the biometrics request for my wife. And next day on January 25th, 2022, I received the medical request letter for my wife. All these requests were delivered to my email because I acted as my wife's representative, and while submitting the application, I had provided my email address as point of contact to conduct business on her behalf with IRCC, basically to correspond with IRCC on my wife's behalf. And that's why all these requests came to me. So in the AOR email was my UCI, or the sponsor's UCI, and this was the first time we were assigned the application number, which starts with F, for family class applications. Now keep in mind, I, the sponsor, because I was already a permanent resident, I already had a UCI from before when I did my own permanent residence application in 2018. So this AOR email had the same UCI. But in the biometrics and medical request, my wife was assigned a UCI, which was her first ever UCI, because this was the first ever application to Canada that she had done. So after receiving the AOR and the biometrics and medical request, both me and my wife could connect our application to a permanent resident tracker, and then we could start tracking the status of our application. So if you want to learn about this permanent residence tracker and how to create the account, how to link your application, and how to start tracking your application, then I go into extreme detail about how that tracker works in this video that should be showing up on the cards here, and it's linked in the description below. Definitely check that video out to learn all about tracking. So if you've received your medicals and biometrics request, then you'll probably have to give your fingerprints and get your medicals done. So I've shared all that on how my wife got it done in this video that should be showing up on the cards here, and it's linked in the description below. Your instructions could change from the instructions that my wife received, but that video should still give you some guidelines as to how to get your biometrics and medicals done. Okay, so it's really helpful. Check it out. Then on January 28th, 2022, we received the pre-arrival services letter. Now, a lot of people ask what this letter really means. And at this point, just take it as a good sign that your application is moving forward. Nothing much to think here. All right. So my wife submitted her biometrics on January 27th, 2022, which were updated to completed on January 28th, 2022, as you can see right here. So background verification activity status updated. And this can differ from application to application. We got really lucky that it was done in 24 hours. And then she submitted her medicals on February 7th, 2022, which were updated to completed on February 16th, 2022, as you can see right here. So you can view your complete timeline in this tracker under activities, as you can see right here. And at each stage, you can track the status of your application. Any update there is to your application will reflect in this tracker right here. All right. And that's why this tracker is really helpful. So after submitting everything that was requested, we didn't really receive any true update for the next 2 months. We kept receiving what have infamously known to be called as ghost updates. So what are ghost updates? Basically, when you get a notification that there's been an update in your application, please log into the tracker or your permanent residence portal account and check that update. But when you log in, there is no update. That is known as a ghost update. Also, if you log into this tracker where you can see your timeline and everything, you see this updated date section right here. And every time you log in, you might see the latest or the current date. And a lot of people think that because the date has been updated, because it says updated and with the latest date, there must be an update on our application. But the tracker still shows you that the application is in progress and there's no real update. So this is also kind of like a ghost update. Basically, what I think is there is a technical issue with the IRCC portal, might be a quality assurance issue as one of my subscribers pointed out, or your application is being looked at by an officer and when they are processing it, it gives you this update, but there is no true update. What I'm trying to say is don't worry too much about these ghost updates. They don't really mean anything to your application. They don't cause any harm to your application. Wait for an actual update, all right? So after about 2 months of getting the medicals done, on April 7th, 2022, my wife received an update for eCOPR. Basically, in her tracker, in the PR tracker, under confirmation of permanent residence details, which you can find under document status in your PR tracker, this number that you see right here started to show up. And this number is assigned as a COPR number before you are about to get your passport request, usually. So a week after getting this number assigned on this tracker, we received the passport request on April 12th, 2022. This passport request email or the ready for visa email also was delivered to me because I was the representative and I had provided my email address as point of contact. So if you're outside of Canada, you've received your passport request, then you'll have to submit it for stamping. Only then you'll get your actual COPR document. So I share all those steps and instructions that were delivered to my wife in this video that should be showing up on the cards here and it's linked in the description below. Your instructions could be slightly different, but this video should still give you some idea about how to go about these instructions, right? So my wife, who was in India at the time, submitted her passport on April 18th, 2022, and she got her passport back stamped along with the COPR document delivered to her on May 2nd, 2022. So now she would have to travel to Canada within 1 year of the expiry of her medicals. A lot of people have been asking, how long do we have before we have to travel to Canada? So it is before the expiry of your medicals, which is usually 1 year. Okay, so my wife reached Toronto Pearson International Airport on May 28th, 2022, and that's when she officially completed the process and became a permanent resident. Her PR card was delivered to her local Canadian address, meaning my address, on July 28th, 2022. So it took about 2 months and she did not have to apply for her PR card. So as you can see, it took us about 6 months to complete the entire application process. From the time of submitting the application in October 2021 to getting the passport request on April 2022. So your application timeline can be different from ours and it depends on a number of factors such as the backlogs at the time, the strength of your application, the case processing center, and the program analysts assigned to your case, and so many other factors are at play here. But using our timeline, you can still get some context as to what to expect from your own timeline. So I totally get it. The spousal sponsorship process is obviously a long and painful journey, one that repeatedly tests your patience, causes confusion, and tiny heartbreaks along the way. And it pays off late, but if you stick with it long enough, it pays off for a lifetime. So for those who have made it and are reunited with your partners, my congratulations to you and hats off. You've just passed one of the most difficult tests to prove your relationship. And for those still waiting, don't lose hope. Your time will come. You will see the light at the end of the tunnel. A sort of white light with red stripes on either side and a maple leaf smeared in the middle. This is Hit Submit and Canada. My name is Suyash. And until I see you next time, I wish that you see the light really soon. Goodbye. On permanent residence online portal. So for those of who, obviously if I count the rejection, as you can see, the person who this process was for is completely ungrateful and video bombing this. But if I can take you back to